What's so good about Balatro? Balatro? Look, don't at me, okay? Balatro is how Local Funk says it, so that's how I'm saying it. Have you ever played a game so much that you see it when you close your eyes or when you go to bed at night? Yeah, it's called the Tetris effect. Look it up, it's quite interesting. But anyway, that was me with Balatro not long after it released back at the start of 2024. At the time of recording now, it's been over a year since it's been released. And I still play it weekly because it tickles my brain in a very, very specific way. So let me spend a little time today telling you a little bit about why exactly it does that. So what is Balatro? Well, the store page says it's a deck-building poker roguelike. Now, I think that actually sounds a little bit more off-putting and nerdy than it needs to. And despite the terminology and aesthetics of the game, it's not really about poker. I mean, it is useful to know poker hands and how they rank, but it's not essential and those are shown in the game. Balatro works like this. You start with a normal deck of cards and you need to clear 8 antes. Think of these like levels or stages. Each ante has 3 rounds and each round has an ever-increasing score target. You have a limited number of hands to play to score and you have a limited amount of discards to try and get cards that you want. And you score by playing poker hands. Pairs, flush, straight, things like that. The hand type score is calculated by multiplying your chips, these blue numbers, by a multiplier, also known as mult, which are the red numbers. In addition to this, the point value of the cards you play is added to your chips. So as an example, 3 of a kind is 30 times 3. If we played 3 of a kind with 10s, we'd add 10 more chips for each 10 played, so it'd end up being 60 times 3 instead. However, the trick is that the score you'll need to clear the rounds will soon outpace the highest possible score you can get with your starting cards. So in order to help us, between each round we get to visit the shop. In here you can buy things that help boost the score. You can get things like extra cards, which make it easier to hit that 3 of a kind if you've got more 10s. You can get planet cards, these buff the chip and multiplier of the different hand types. Tarot cards, these have many cool effects. They let us do things like copy cards, change suits, etc. We can get vouchers. They give us general buffs, things like extra discards or lower prices in the shop. But the main way to make a difference to our score in this game is through jokers. Jokers have very specific effects. They often encourage you to specialize your deck and synergize in interesting ways. So for example, you might find a card that gives you extra mult for scoring a flush. You combine that with a card that gives bonuses for spades or clubs or diamonds. You can make your flushes score even higher. You might find things that give you bonuses for face cards being played, which synergize nicely with this card that makes all cards count as face cards. So getting a decent combo of jokers and other improvements helps you get through to the end. However, every 3rd round of an ante is a boss. They'll have effects like cancelling out a suit, only letting you play 1 hand, not letting you discard, things like that. Some are really tricky. But if you're planning ahead and thinking carefully, you should be able to make it to the end of Ante 8. And that's kind of it. This is a sort of score-based and challenge game, really. You can go beyond Ante 8, but the scores get really crazy really quickly. As you play, you'll unlock more decks and stakes. Stakes are like a difficulty level. They'll do things like add new conditions, like restricting the amount of money you can earn. Decks have interesting effects too, like we've got this deck that has only hearts and spades in it. So now that we've covered that, what is so good about Balatro? I think for me the first thing is the accessibility. The rules are simpler and very well communicated through short card descriptions. I did find some of the rules a little trickier to understand at the beginning, but a lot of that's fixed thanks to this nice visual design and animations. They play out at a really great speed by default, which lets you watch and see how the scoring's done. And I felt really clever the first time I thought about changing the order of some of my cards and jokers to change at what point the multiplication happened and got a bigger score. It was also really satisfying when I wondered what would happen if I tried to play illegal hands like 5 of a kind. The game could be really surprising in this way. I often feel like a very smart person while playing. Although it seems like it's the kind of game where you need a lot of knowledge to do well, I still had an amazing time while learning the ropes. It's a great feeling the first few times you accidentally stumble into a really effective combination. And don't get me wrong, there is a high degree of knowledge required, not to mention luck, to clear the higher difficulties, but I personally found that I could keep having a lot of fun on the low to mid range for a long old time. Like I said at the start, I'm no expert, but I still play it regularly over a year later. For me, the game is so compelling because it intentionally obscures the information. The sums get so big and complex, it's obvious you're not really supposed to play it really super seriously and calculate everything in your head ahead of time. You're supposed to be feeling a little bit like you're making your best guess and taking a chance. You get to a shop and you know that you need more score, but like, which of your current jokers can you afford to swap out for another? And I find this a very engaging and interesting question to ask yourself, and it gets more and more nuanced the longer you play. It's great. And that's the secret sauce, I think, of a game like this, is the feeling of combining the knowledge that you have, however deep you end up getting into it. That knowledge with a smidgen of good luck, and it paying off feels so good. The audio-visual design really supports this as well. The animations and sounds are really cool. When you score really big hands, those effects still work their magic on my dopamine glands. The theme tune is so iconic, I've still not muted the music 14 months later. I feel like I enter into a little Balatro dream bubble when I play it even now, and that's mainly thanks to the lovely surreal aesthetic. And finally, it's a great game for sharing anecdotes and stories with people about particularly lucky runs or clever choices you made. I'm still not really tired of reading about or watching good runs online. I'm always envious of people who can regularly go way beyond ante-8 and get into the crazy big E numbers. So there we go, I hope that's helped explain a little bit about what's so good about Balatro. It rocks. There's an over-explained Let's Play I've created down below if you've recently started and you want some pointers or you'd like to see it in action properly. Otherwise, you know the drill. Press those buttons the algorithm loves, and I'll catch you in the next one.